Discovery Cove is one of the most expensive days out in Orlando. A reservation-only escape where swimming with dolphins shares billing with tropical lagoons, white sand beaches, and an all-exclusive experience. You can snorkel with thousands of tropical fish and rays, or float through a lazy river that feels like it's always been there. And it's all included, right down to the bar. But beneath the picture-perfect scenery, there's a little more to the story. Is it worth a trip? Hi, I'm the Frugal Brit. And in this video, I'll be taking you on a complete tour of Discovery Cove, showing you exactly what a day here looks like, whether it's worth carving out precious time from your Orlando trip. Without further ado, let's dive in. One of the things that makes Discovery Cove unique is that it's not a place you just turn up to. It's reservation only, with attendance deliberately capped. You'll be dropped off at the big thatched A-frame wrapped in palms and bamboo. Once you've checked in and got your return time for the dolphin swim and any other extras, you'll head out to the far side into the sun for your first proper look at the place. The Windaway River curling through the trees. It's a short walk to breakfast, a shaded path winding through thick, properly grown tropical planting, the river flashing through gaps in the leaves, taking you across a covered wooden bridge buried in the jungle, then opening up past the shops onto the main path and on towards Laguna Grill, another big thatched A-frame. Laguna Grill is the resort's main restaurant. Like everything here, it's included. You just walk in and help yourself. It's the buffet you'd hope for, a continental side of pastries, fruit and parfait cups, and a hot side of eggs, bacon, sausage and waffles, plus a couple of signature plates on the board. The Laguna breakfast, or a spicier Southwest version with peppers and salsa through the eggs. Drinks are self-serve too, fountains, juice and coffee, all part of the deal. Then it's outside to find a table, where there's one local hazard worth knowing about, the resident ibises. Leave your plate for a coffee refill, and you'll come back to find one helping itself. Before we head off exploring, it's worth taking a moment to get your bearings. It helps to picture the place as one long strip rather than a park split into lands. You arrive at reception at one end, over by the freshwater side. From there, the Dolphin Lagoon fills the middle, and the big saltwater snorkelling reef anchors the far end. Laguna Grill sits centrally, the hub you'll keep passing through. With your bearings sorted, the next job is to grab a locker. There are a few dotted around the park. They're included like everything else, and refreshingly generous in size. Before you get near the water, there's sunscreen. The park has its own animal-friendly version they'd prefer you use. Then it's over to one of the gear stations to pick up your snorkel and wetsuit, both thrown in as well. You can choose a full-length one, a shorty with cut-off arms and legs, or a sleeveless vest. You'll definitely appreciate one where we're headed next. We're now going to head west, following the path round, arriving at the Grand Reef, one of the park's best selling points, some would say the biggest. This is the big saltwater snorkelling lagoon, a giant living aquarium that you get to swim around in. A heads up before you get in though, for the last couple of years the flotation vests have been mandatory. Lounges line the lagoon, so you can drift in and out all day. Once you're in, you'll swim through clear water over rockwork, with far more fish than you'd expect. The stars are the stingrays, debarbed and harmless, gliding right under you, along with spotted eagle rays and the odd larger resident cruising past. The left side of the lagoon is where you'll find the Sea Venture add-on. For a separate purchase, you're sealed into a dive helmet fed by an airline and walk along the reef floor, eye to eye with the fish and rays. Of all the paid extras, this is the one I'm told gives you the most bang for your buck. Round at the far end, the landscape changes, the rockwork rising into a waterfall. A rope bridge crosses over to a little island in the middle. Glass panels separate the reef from the next body of water along, which holds sharks. You can snorkel right up to the glass and come nose to nose with them. And if that isn't enough, there's paid add-ons, the shark snorkel and shark interaction. That'll get you on the other side. Above the water is where you'll meet for the flamingo mingle, another of the park's paid extras. A small group session where you sit on the sand and meet flamingos up close. A few other things are dotted around the reef. Private cabanas for rent if you want a shaded base by the water, and a couple of short animal presentations. And if you happen to be passing, there's a little snack station tucked into the planting for a cold drink between snorkels. After the cool of the reef, we'll head to the opposite side of the map for Serenity Bay. It's a calm lagoon ringed with lounges and filled with pool noodles, where the whole point is to float about and do very little. There's a waterfall at one end, beaches to wade in from either side, and as we'll come to, a cave in one corner that doubles as a back way into the lazy river. Right alongside it is the Blue Bamboo Bar, and this is where the all-inclusive deal really shows off. There's self-service machines for soft drinks and ices, free beer and wine, and a counter of complimentary snacks, chips, pretzels, and soft chocolate chip cookies kept warm under the heat lamp. If you want to splurge, you can upgrade to the premium drinks package, and the bar mixes signature cocktails like the bright blue Serenity Bay. There's also a little separate pool steps away, so you can sit in the water with a drink in hand. Then it's back to Serenity Bay itself, where the waterfall tumbles down the rocks into the end of the pool, the water clear beneath it, bright flowers hanging over the rocks above, and you can drift right up to it. Set into the rock alongside is a cave, which happens to be one of the ways into the Windaway River, which is where we're headed next. We'll head out into the cave where the light fades, except the wide opening where you can look out past the waterfall towards Serenity Bay. Fake stalactites hanging down overhead. Worth knowing as you set off, there's no rubber rings in this river, just pool noodles or a flotation vest. Out of the cave, you're into the Windaway River proper. It's bright, clear water winding between the rockwork and the planting, drifting along gently for the most part. The river then runs you up to a waterfall, where you can either take the exit on the right for the explorer's aviary, or float straight in by water. The whole area is enclosed under a high mesh canopy, one of the prettiest stretches in the loop, with birds flitting through the branches on either side. You drift through on your noodle, or climb out at the steps and walk among them on foot. There's a good mix in here, vivid orange ibises down on the rocks, doves and birds that potter about completely unbothered by the crowds. Grab a cup of food and they'll happily come to you. You'll often spot a larger character posted right by the water's edge, like it's on guard duty. Then it's back out through the waterfall and on your way, past a weathered stone-faced half sunk in the water. And further on, there's a turn off into the freshwater oasis, which is worth taking. It's a calmer side pool where the little marmoset monkeys live on their own island, with a keep a talk if you time it right, and a short path leads around to viewing windows for the otters, hopefully willing to put on a show. It also joins onto the blue bamboo bar pool, so it's a handy spot to break for drinks and snacks. Then you rejoin the river for the home stretch, a long waterfall you can swim right up to, a couple more bridges passing overhead, and the loop carries you back into Serenity Bay where you started. Around this point, the kitchen switches over for lunch, another all-you-can-eat buffet served from 11 until 3:30. The hot counter leans tropical, jerk chicken, coconut-crusted salmon, mojo pork and the like, with a side of salads and wraps, and the usual kids' staples, tenders, burgers, mac and cheese for fussier eaters. If you'd rather not sit down to the full lunch, Hibiscus Hideaway is the more casual grab-something option. It comes in two halves, a thatched bar that works just like the blue bamboo, and next to it a counter handing out complimentary pizza by the slice, cheese and pepperoni, flatbread style, with a gluten-free option on request. Around it there's a help-yourself spread of snacks, plus an icy machine and a Coca-Cola fountain. Worth highlighting, a soft-serve machine with a Dole Whip option. For most guests, the Dolphin swim is the headline experience, and it requires the pricier signature Dolphin swim package. You don't just do it whenever though. You get your return time at check-in, and when it comes around, you report to one of the Dolphin cabanas, open-sided huts near the Dolphin Lagoon for a short orientation. Then it's out into the lagoon in a small group, waist to chest deep, and introduce to your dolphin and its trainer. Over the next half hour or so, it's a structured encounter rather than a free-for-all swim. You'll stroke it, get the obligatory kiss, learn a few of the signals that get it to wave or splash, and the big one, take hold of its dorsal fin for a tow across the water. There's a photographer on hand the whole time, so there are pictures to buy afterwards if you want them. All in, it's around 40 minutes from cabana to towel. Whether it's worth a considerable extra cost, and there's plenty to weigh up, is something I'll come back to in the review. So, after a full day at Discovery Cove, is it actually worth the money? This isn't a theme park, and if you turn up expecting one, you'll feel shortchanged. What you're paying for is a calm, all-inclusive day around some animals, and judged on that, it mostly delivers. For me, the real star isn't the dolphins, despite the top billing. It's drifting over the saltwater lagoon with rays and fish sliding underneath you, and the lazy river is the best I've ever experienced. Unlike the typical concrete loop at a water park or hotel, it feels like a real river that's always been there. The incredible landscaping is not just limited to the lazy river. It's beautiful, lush, thick and tropical from one end to the other. The all-inclusive setup is done very well. Wetsuit, snorkel, towel, sunscreen, breakfast, lunch, snacks, soft drinks, even the beer and wine. Your wallet stays in the locker all day, give or take the odd upsell. And after being nickel and dimed everywhere else in Orlando, that feels pretty special. The pace is a relief if you've got theme park fatigue, no rides to chase, no lightning lane schedules. You arrive, change, snorkel, eat and doze on a lounger, and you won't go home exhausted. The free bar being the only hazard in that regard. In terms of where it falls short, it's expensive and the pricing is slippery. It can swing massively with the date and season. Then come the extras, which brings me to the dolphins. Manage your expectations here. It's a 30-minute structured session, a stroke, the kiss, a quick tow by the fin, and a photographer working the whole time. For all the talk of swimming with dolphins, the actual swimming is only about 10 seconds of it. For a park that's quite laid back about a lot of things, they are incredibly strict about one thing: no cameras, no phones in the dolphin pool or anywhere near the water. It's sold as animal welfare, and on its own that's perfectly defensible, but it's hard not to spot this rule doing double duty. It leaves exactly one way to come home with a photo of your child meeting a dolphin, which is their photo package. 5 printed photos run $120 plus tax. The digital copies, for some reason, require $250 plus tax. And for all that money, the photos themselves weren't even up to much. The ones I got came back overexposed and low resolution. That was a couple of years ago mine, so it's possible they've improved since, but I wouldn't bank on it. You can rope in someone from your group who isn't swimming to snap photos from the beach, but it's no real fix. You're just not close enough for a decent shot. In fairness though, the park does show a lot of restraint elsewhere. Almost everything is complimentary, the premium drinks package aside. This isn't a park with its hand constantly in your pocket, but the photo package upsell is disappointing. So is the dolphin swim itself worth it? I wouldn't flatly tell you to skip it. If it's your first visit, and if swimming with a dolphin is a proper bucket list moment, you'll likely want to do it regardless. But if you swum with dolphins before, or you're keeping half an eye on the budget, it's the easiest saving to make, and you dodge the whole photo circus in one go. Either way, if you can, put the money towards the multi-park version of the ticket, the one that bundles in SeaWorld, Aquatica and Busch Gardens. That ticket gets you up to 14 days of unlimited visits to all 3 parks, with parking thrown in too. With those parks included, it's superb value. On its own though, the value drops quite a bit, especially when you think how much else there is to do in Orlando. One last word on the dolphins themselves. Some people are uneasy about swimming with captive animals, and that's fair. The park's defenders point out that these dolphins are captive bred and couldn't survive being released anyway. Others would say that's not really the point. Where you land on that is up to you. Another worth flagging, since 2024, strong swimmers are no longer allowed to dive down to the bottom of the reef, a genuine shame for confident divers. But it came after 3 deaths in the Grand Reef, so it's hard to argue them tightening things up. The food from the buffet is fine, a decent spread that fills you up, though the marketing oversells the quality. One newer addition worth flagging is Paradise Nights, a separately ticketed evening event that runs select summer nights. You walk through the park at sunset with a welcome drink in hand, then settle under the canopies at Laguna Grill for an island-themed buffet, paella, churrasco steak and the like, followed by a 4-act show built around earth, air, water and fire, aerialists and a fire knife finale and all. Bit of a mixed bag. The buffet was genuinely fantastic and the performances impressive, but the evening as a whole left me flat. It felt like a missed opportunity to pen everyone in around the dining tables rather than open up one of the prettiest parks in Orlando. Another warning, this is Florida, so the afternoon rain and storms can roll in fast and cut your expensive day short, with little you can do about it. So is it worth a day out of your limited Orlando vacation? If you're doing Disney and Universal, those tickets already give you more than enough to fill your days. But for all its faults, this is a genuinely premium, relaxing day out. My kids get more excited about this park than any Disney or Universal park for what that's worth. If you live for rides and big thrills, it's not for you. If you want a slow, sunny, all-inclusive day around animals with no stress attached, nothing else in Orlando comes close. 3 tips if you go before I end the video. Book on Black Friday or Cyber Monday, where 40 to 50% off is normal. Bring a waterproof phone case and pack a pair of water shoes. The riverbed and reef floor are rough underfoot, and you'll thank yourself for them. That's it for this Discovery Cove guide. Thanks for watching. If you've visited before, I'd love to hear where you stand on it. If you found this video helpful, be sure to check out my other Orlando guides, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos.